Iraq or Yemen or Somalia or in Egypt, but they are in Bulgaria, in France, and we need to think that in fact those, for instance, it's very significant to me that the people who started acting as terrorists in France, they are the second generation. They are not the people coming from abroad, immigrating. There are people who are born in France and who took the best of the French civilization and the education that they could take, and they end up with such type of approach towards the society. At the same time, you have a person, a Nile guy, in fact, who managed to escape from that shop, who didn't have even a national status. He was an immigrant, and he was collaborating with the authorities against those bastards. Sorry for using this expression. That means that it is something is wrong in our approach towards certain fragments of the society. And we need to think about these fragments of the society.
Do you think also that there, as President Abdel Fattah has seriously mentioned, that there also needs to be a way in which you deal with the way that the doctrine or the way that the Islam is preached to certain societies, in certain societies? Do you think now that European countries in particular are going to be listening to his messages more closely than they had in the past?
I would say we have always listened very carefully to his messages. Because again, the president of Egypt is the president of Egypt. It is the biggest and the most important country in the region. So it is, we always listened very carefully what the president or what the politicians in Egypt are saying and what they are doing and how they are acting. The problem of the preaching, the religious, of course, it is something that should be done in the countries that they really have strong traditions in preaching, like Al-Azhar. And that's why, as you mentioned, the last statement of the president was addressed to Al-Azhar. And he was asking them to start a revolution inside the Islamic institutions. And I believe this is definitely needed, because it happened, if you go to the Middle Ages in the European history, it happened in our societies as well at that time. You need the reform, because Islam is a type of social regulator. It cannot be and it should not be used as a political instrument or political ideology. Otherwise it will create terrible problems. So the new environment that the people, the societies are living in, they will definitely require to change the approach of inside the religion, inside the preachers, inside these theological fundamentals. Otherwise, you end up with the people who are half ignorant and who go around and explain what the Holy Book says, and they are very far away from what it really was meant to be said. And that's a part of the problem. That's a part of the solution as well.
Indeed. With obviously after the Charlie Hebdo attack, and obviously the arrests that were made in several other countries, we've seen also in Belgium, etc. How worried is Bulgaria, and what actions is the country taking to counter that sort of phenomena from reaching it at home?
First of all, we have, of course, immediately there is an alert for the security services and the services that are competent to deal with this phenomenon. You should know that there is a very active exchange of information, not only among the European countries, but among us and the countries like Egypt, like Israel, like some other countries that are facing this phenomenon. So it is a global effort, and I'm certain, I think 2 days ago, our Prime Minister had a special meeting with the Ministry of Interior, with the members of the National Security Council on this regard, because it could happen everywhere. You don't need the big organization for this is a part of the problem. Before we needed organization, a big organization that provides with logistics and everything. Now we need a couple of frustrated people and two Kalashnikovs to do a terroristic attack.
Right. So I understand the Bulgarian authorities have also recently arrested a French citizen for alleged links to the gunmen who had carried out the Charlie Hebdo attack. How closely is Bulgaria working not only with France but with other European countries to, on that level, to itself and obviously for the greater good?
We are a member of the same family. That's why I mentioned to you there is very intensive exchange of information in between the security services, in between the ministries of interior as well, in between the judicial systems inside the European Union. And again, we participate with all our partners from the Near East that could provide us, and we provide them as well, with reliable information that could help fighting the terrorism. And this is the only way, because the network of the new terrorists is very global. The mobility is very high, and you could have the people, they started using different tools of communicating among themselves. So, I mean, the traditional methods of the security services confronting them, they're already old-fashioned. We need to invent something new to track those guys and to prevent them of harming innocent citizens and creating a big damage to the society itself. Because
Mr. Ambassador, I recently read in preparation for our interview today that Bulgaria had announced that it would extend a barbed wire fence along its border with Turkey, and that is to prevent a growing number of refugees from entering from Syria. Is it just about the influx of refugees, or are you also worried about having a porous border that could also allow extremists into your country?
First, I mean, the refugee issue is extremely big and difficult for us at the same time, because after the war in Syria, we have got over 100 refugees. And 10,000 refugees for a country the size of Egypt probably is not a big number, but for a country with the size of Bulgaria, and with the capabilities that we have to accommodate those people, it's extremely high number. Here again, I mean, extremists we could get from everywhere. It's not necessary that they come from Turkey. We may have them at home. If we have frustrated people, that's why, again, a lot of people who emigrated, who left Syria, they're highly educated people. But if they are left in bad conditions and in a very bad social status, you risk that you radicalize them. And can you imagine the kids? We have many kids that they have left the country and now they live in very bad environment. In 5 years, if you don't accommodate those people properly, then you risk with this phenomenon. I mean, you will grow up your own mujahideen inside the country.
Right. But the decision by Bulgaria was criticized by the UNHCR, and it said it has urged Bulgaria repeatedly to practice an open door policy. What do you say to that?
We do practice an open door policy, but I mean, we need to channelize the traffic of the people.
Right.
I mean, if they come and cross, and there are principles to apply for a refugee. I mean, if you go just and cross illegally any border, and because you should know the geographical area of this border, it is extremely difficult to prevent the people from crossing by any other tool but building a wall. Although I don't believe, frankly speaking, that the war is a long-lasting solution. Again, we need to go to the roots, because there are many examples for the wars built up in the history of the humanity. None of them in a long term achieved the goals that they were built on. Look at the border with Libya, the Graziani that during the war. I mean, now everyone is crossing around.
True. With obviously your extensive knowledge of Libya, I'd like to know how you see the situation in the country from a person who's obviously lived there a very long time.
It is extremely critical, the situation. And as everyone, it's obvious for everyone. The main problem in my reading is in fact, what we see today are the seats that Gaddafi